So, we will begin, Daniella, with you. If you would please introduce yourself, let us know the seat that you are seeking, and answer this initial question that we have, which is the following. What do you think are the most important solutions at the county level of government to address sea level rise and flooding? 90 seconds.
Good evening, everyone. Daniella, Levine, Cava, County Commission, District 8. I am the commissioner, and I'm seeking your support for my re-election campaign. I have been grappling with this issue for a long time, but particularly since I've been in office. This issue has kept me up many nights and has been a priority focus for me. 3 important things that we can do and should do at the county level. First, we do need to identify assets at risk, not just for county buildings, but for the entire county infrastructure, and we need to make some tough decisions about building or not building or building up. What are the things that will yield the most effective, what would be the best cost investment, the best return on investment? For example, the airport is under risk. What are we doing with our runways? Things like that. Second, we need to continue to reduce our carbon footprint. Well, that's part of a global solution. We certainly have a big role to play. We need to make our entire transit fleet carbon neutral. We need to find all the different ways that we can reduce our carbon emissions, including our buildings, which are our primary source. And we also need to include the public, like Cleo is doing, in understanding what's at risk so that people are engaged in this conversation and understand that they are part of the solution. It's not just county's role. The business sector, the community sector plays a critical role. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Johnathan, please introduce yourself, the seat you are seeking, and answer the question, what do you think are the most important solutions at the county level to address sea level rise?
Good afternoon. My name is Johnathan Burke. I'm running for County Commission District 8 as well. And these are my 3 solutions for doing. The 3 solutions I have is nature-based solutions. This is my first because engineering alone can't take care of the problem we have. The second one I have is regulating development by creating and enforcing building codes just as we did after Hurricane Andrew, so we can have structures that are better built for our sea level rise. And my third solution is ensuring that we don't push back the urban development boundary. That's it.
All right, thank you very much. Alfredo, good evening to you. Introduce yourself, the seat you're seeking, and your solutions at the county level for sea level rise and flow.
Good afternoon. My name is Alfred Santamaria. I am a candidate for Miami-Dade County District 10. So they're the candidate for the same seat, District 8. I'm here for District 10, which includes areas of Kendall, Westchester, and Fontainebleau. FIU is also part of my district. FIU Engineering Campus. I want to recognize the fact that we have a city commissioner in the House, which I respect that a lot, and that's a sign of respect to this organization and to you all. I am the only candidate for District 10 that's here. There's a city commissioner that's been there for 25 years, and he's not here. It's a shame. It's my second debate, and he has not shown up. People deserve better. As a millennial, I am very concerned about sea level rise. And for that, I say that Miami will be safe, but we need to take actions now. The reason I say Miami will be safe is because there is a lot of propaganda out there that don't invest in Miami, move out of Miami because it will be underwater in the next 10 years. That's not true. The commission at the county level will not allow this to happen. And of course, this is an issue that has to do with the federal government, state, and local government, but the most direct responsibles are county officials. I have 10 seconds left. I think I'll follow up with my direct proposals. But county, this is the 4th largest and wealthiest county in the nation.
Right, thank you very much. We're going to stick to time tonight because we've got a lot of ground to cover. So again, I would encourage you to use that opportunity to cover the ground that we are asking about. 2 of the candidates that did talk about the solutions here, you both mentioned building codes or assets, in the case, Commissioner Cava, that you spoke about, and identifying those buildings and assets that are worthy of investment. And Johnathan, you spoke about enforcing building codes. I would like you to talk about how, if re-elected in the case of the commissioner, if elected in your case, how would you engage with the real estate development industry in South Florida that is the source of so much money, fees, economic impact, jobs, and whatnot? And how would you change that relationship going forward?
Well, I'm going to stand for the good example. Is that 90 seconds?
Pardon? Is it 90 seconds? I believe it's up to a minute. Yes.
Well, first, just to say that the state controls a lot of what happens in building, and we are very restricted in what we can do on a local level. So we have to work with our state delegation to persuade them to take an active role to give back power to the local government so that we can do more at a local level. That being said, we need to make sure that people are building up. There's a general guidance that says that they must take into consideration sea level rise, but there's no specifics. So I am working with the Department of I'm working with them now to see how we can incorporate that into our code. I'm going to announce here today that I have just received the endorsement of the Realtors Association, and that indicates that I have a very good working relationship with them, and they know that I'm not all pro-development, that I take a very balanced view, and so I think that will be very positive as we go forward.
Thank you very much. Johnathan, how would you change the relationship with the real estate community, given the role that it plays with addressing sea level rise and development, as well as the economic impact that that industry has?
My opinion?
Make sure the green light is on.
In order to build a better relationship with the real estate market out now, I would actually offer incentives to current homeowners who will update their structures and actually raise their houses or raise the value of products, the valuable equipment that they have. And also, I really believe in enforcing regulation for the construction companies and the contractors. As she said, from the state level, if we get more local control over it, that we can enforce what's most important in our community, the local communities. So I would advocate for stronger regulations and restrictions. Thank you.
Are you advocating different regulations, however? Are you saying somehow that the current building codes are not enforced in Miami-Dade County?
No, I just think from a local level that we can monitor them better on a local level and enforce them more.
Alfredo, I'll give you one more chance to give us your important solutions at the county level to address the problems.
Yes, the case of Holland, for example. Holland is 8 feet below the water level. They've implemented water pumps, canals, infrastructure walls to protect it. So I'm saying is that there is a technology out there to protect ourselves from seawater level, but we have to start implementing those. Miami-Dade County has a budget of $7.4 billion, which is the 4th largest in the nation. We have the money, and we should also advocate to state and federal government to get more money. To answer this question directly about the real estate, I would propose 2 things. The first one is every new building in the county has to pay what's called impact fee. I would increase.
Hold on one second, let's make sure we've got a microphone that works. Is there someone back there who's running audio first of all? Or is it, where is our audio hooked up? Any idea? Behind me. Okay, there we go. Go ahead.
Hello. Thank you. In reference to the real estate development, every new building has to pay what's called impact fee. What I would do is I would increase the impact fee a little bit. So we take into account the infrastructure that we have to pay to fix the seawater level rise. I already said what the fixes are. This is what Holland and other countries around the world are doing. Water pumps, deepening canals, raising walls, etc. But also, in addition to that, I will create incentives for building to go green. If we create those incentives, buildings will have more solar panels and other things that will have a less impact in the environment. Solutions exist, but we're in the 21st century. We have to see what other cities, other counties are doing around the world, and it's time to implement it. Okay, time's up.
Let's talk about the level, the county government level here, because each of you have mentioned other levels of government, the role that they play in this, certainly the building codes, the state level, as well as the source of potential funds when it comes to the federal government. So, Commissioner, addressing sea level rise and flooding will certainly require actions from all levels of government. But what in particular do you think the county needs to play in the role in leading the response to sea level rise and flooding in Miami-Dade County?
Well, you know, we have an Office of Resilience. The City of Miami and Miami Beach each have one, and we're united through the 100 Resilient Cities initiative at the Rockefeller Foundation, which I actually lobbied hard to make happen. And a strategy is being developed that will be shared with the public in the spring of the next year. I'm extremely impatient for that. I imagine it's going to tell us, again, which assets we should invest in. At the end of the day, there's a financial price tag to all of this. I think it was very bold of the City of Miami to pass the bond program and work with the public to come up with priorities. But that was only passed because it wasn't going to be a direct hit on the pocketbook because another bond was retiring. So, you know, how will the public come to see that this is going to cost money? And I'll just give as one example, canals. The canal infrastructure is aging. The price tag for each individual homeowner has gone down. We are at extreme risk because we're trusting to a system that is not working.
Johnathan, how about the specific role that the county level government plays in combating sea level rise and flooding?
In regard to the county level, as Ms. Cava said, we have to, in my personal opinion, I think we need to focus on the canal structure that we have. That's where we rely on these canals to have the water to run back out to sea, and because the county is not keeping up with our canals currently, that the water is not able to flow as it should. And so I think that the county needs to be held more responsible for to the drainage and barging the canals.
So the South Florida Water Management District manages the canals in Miami-Dade County, so I'm not sure what it is that you're proposing. Can you give us a little bit more clarification on that relationship that you're talking about?
Well, the South Florida Management District to work with the county, the local county, to get more people involved in having the canals clean on a county level.
Gotcha. Thank you very much. Alfredo, how about for you, the level of leadership that you would work for at the county level in combating sea level rise and flooding?
Definitely. Miami-Dade County is composed of 13 commissioners and a strong mayor. Then we have 36 municipalities. From the county position, we have to lead, and there are 5 things I propose. Number 1, education. There has to be a daily, weekly, monthly education to our community. Number 2, we have to work closer with nonprofits and organizations that advocate, just like the one that put together this forum. We have to be more active from the commission. Number 3, we have to invest. We have to start investing. We have a $7.4 billion budget, the 4th largest in the nation. And we have to start investing in more water pumps, better water sewer infrastructure, deepening our canals, and putting higher protection walls. And we need to start putting pressure as a commission to the governor and to the federal government so they become more active. If there's one state that is affected by potential water, sea level rise, it's South Florida, and we need to be more vocal, more aggressive, be able and willing to go out there and do what we have to do to protect the future of our kids. Thank you.
Let me follow up with a question from the audience that relates specifically to identifying the cost. And the question is the following. Since 2015, experts have recommended creating an enhanced capital plan that makes concrete the specific costs of battling sea level rise and adapting to climate change by honestly accounting for current and future infrastructure needs. It's 2018 and the plan is not finished, will you commit to pushing for this plan before the end of this calendar year? This is a plan calling for these concrete specific costs of battling sea level rise, adapting to climate change by honestly accounting for current and future infrastructure needs. In this case, it's related to Miami-Dade County.
So the budget process in the county is such that it's on an annual basis. It's not on a multi-year basis. And so far what the county has done is invested in a bunch of studies, which again is extremely frustrating to me. And the answer has been given by the strong mayor that we don't need to set aside money for infrastructure until we know what that infrastructure will be. I don't buy it. I think we do need to start saving for the rainy day. And yes, I am committed to do that. I just want to mention that saltwater intrusion into our well field is something very concerning that is within the county's purview. And, we have well fields that have already been inundated with salt water, and we have other well fields at risk. So that is definitely an area where we need to be very aggressive and look to the future.
Let me ask another question from the audience that certainly relates to District 10 here. How do you see public transit, Johnathan, you can answer this question. How do you see public transit as helping to respond to climate change and the threat it poses for Miami-Dade County?
Public transit has a great effect on climate change because of the amount of CO2 emissions that we get from the vehicles that are on the road. In Miami-Dade, we have a problem. We have a lot of cars on the road, and the buses that we have now aren't fuel efficient. We need more biodiesel vehicles or even electric vehicles to reduce our carbon footprint. By reducing our carbon footprint, that we will be emitting less gas into the ozone layer and causing the sea level rise.
Let's talk about paying for some of this, including transportation, but also some of the sea level rise. Alfred, I'll have you answer this question first. You've talked about looking to the federal government for more dollars here, but I think as history has shown, when it comes to leadership at sea level rise, it's all about local leaders. We've seen that with the Southeast Florida Climate Compact and other types of agreements that have already been hammered out. So with that in mind, what are the sources of revenue that you would identify if elected to the county commission in Miami-Dade County to address and adapt and reinforce against the threat of sea level rise and flooding?
Great question, because it's all about the money, right? We need money to implement stuff. So earlier I said that we should increase a percentage and the impact fee on new infrastructure. That will create a special fund just for this. But I would like to go back. Did you know that the county has spent in the past 5 years $50 million in studies for transportation? $50 million, $7.4 billion budget. You think, I believe that my first task when I get to the commission, God willing, with your support, I would like to look in detail. How are we spending this money? This county pays high salaries to a lot of its 28,000 employees. That has to be addressed. But in addition to that, I propose creating new job and money sources for the county. I would like to attract to Miami the movie industry, Formula One industry, the theme park industry. If we create the right incentives, they will come. Then we will create a special fund just to address this issue.
Did you say the Formula One industry?
Correct.
Just wanted to make sure.
The cars, yes.
Sure, understood. So same question to our District 10 candidates here, our other district candidates, pardon me, Commissioner. What are the sources of revenue that you would identify and target in order to raise capital, to raise revenue in order to address sea level rise and flooding? John, go ahead. Go ahead, John.
Basically, in order to save our city, our county, we're going to have to ask our constituents for money. Basically, we're going to go for federal funding because if they have to pay now or pay later, basically. Either you give us money now through grants to help us build the infrastructure, or you spend more money through FEMA to rebuild it after these storms. And then it's necessary for probably coming up with taxes that are area specific to areas that are in danger of sea level rise. Certain areas are more dangerous than others, and those areas you might have to reconsider some of the taxes that we pay.
So when you're talking about asking citizens for revenue, you're talking about taxes and fees?
Yes.
and more than what there is today.
Yes.
Gotcha. Commissioner, how about the sources of revenue?
Well, I think that as we deal with this issue, the most important thing is to bring the public into it so the public understands what's at play, what's at risk. I think when people realize that there is a challenge and they are informed about the solutions, they can come forward to contribute. I don't think this should all be thrown on the individual homeowners or taxpayers. Obviously, we are looking to the federal government for funding for this kind of risk, and also the state government. We are a donor county to the state, and the state really needs our revenue. So if we suffer economically, the state suffers. If we suffer economically, the country suffers. So I think that there's definitely investments to be made there. Also, we can bond money. And finally, special assessments, as was mentioned, have worked in other places like San Francisco, but it has to be a combination of all of these and not without the public being engaged and informed and taking part in choosing the best options.
Commissioner, when you talk about bonding, that's borrowing money that's usually
Yes.
backed by future revenue, and it's
Correct.
usually property tax. Are you talking about a general obligation bonding capacity?
Yes, and for example, you asked about transportation. So the only way that we're going to build out the SMART plan is by bonding the revenue. So, obviously there's a cost no matter what, but, government can borrow at good rates, and so we're looking at a combination of funding sources.
Kind of a quick yes or no question with a little bit of follow-up here from the audience, and it does relate to revenue. Are you in favor of a carbon fee and dividend? Would you favor passing a resolution in the county commission expressing support for that type of, some call it a carbon tax, call it a carbon fee, call it putting a price on carbon?
Well, I am in general in favor of that. I have been exploring it. I think that there are obstacles to our doing it at a local level. I can't give you the technical reasons right now, but I think it's something nationally that we should be looking at as well.
Great, thank you, Johnathan. Would you support a carbon fee, carbon tax resolution?
Yes, I would support that fee totally, because it would incentivize people to leave more of a green footprint, or to go green, leave more less of a carbon footprint. So sometimes the only way that you incentivize people is by having a fee.
Right, how about it? Would you support a carbon tax resolution at the county level?
First, I want to say I will oppose everything that has to do with increasing your taxes. I respect Johnathan that's here, but I will totally oppose it. We are the ones that pay the highest tolls in Miami-Dade County, the lowest wages, the highest rent costs. Imagine increasing your taxes more. Our taxes are currently higher than Broward next door. So definitely no. But in regards to the carbon fee, I would like to learn more about this. I mean, there's a specific company that's creating a lot of carbon pollution. I would like to create a special fee for them. But again, my proposal here, the way the 21st century work with modernism, comparativeness, it's by creating new job sources. And that's where I want to focus my attention. It's not about asking for more money. It's about being more efficient, more effective with what we currently collect, but attracting companies. Did you know that out of the Fortune 500 companies, 30% of them have headquarters to Latin America, but only 3% of them are based out of Miami? The other 27% are not here because we have not created incentives to bring them. I want to bring them.
Let me ask you about the relationship between the county and the power company, Florida Power Company. This is an important relationship, not only for the residents, but also an important relationship with the county. The franchise agreement, which is a contract between the county and Florida Power is up for renewal in 2020. Commissioner, the last time it was negotiated was 1989, so it's been a good long stretch of time between these two negotiations. If reelected in your case, what do you see as essential for the county's next contract with FPL?
Well, I've been having several conversations with members of the public and also with our budget staff who are negotiating this, and I've been told that there's a possibility there will be a franchise agreement. That basically it's not necessarily in the county's interest or FPL's interest, that FP. So that's the first thing I could say. But as to what I hope
So
to
there may not
see,
be a renegotiation.
there may not be a renegotiation. So this is up for grabs. It was somewhat shocking to me to realize that yes, in fact, maybe it is not necessary. But the point being that the utility needs to be able to go about its business with support from permitting and so on from the county, and the public needs to also have certain protections. You know, I have been a fierce supporter of allowing people to produce their own energy and not have to sell it back to the grid. I've been pushing for the county to be able to wheel its energy that it produces on its facilities, and in fact, I'm waiting for a report that I asked for that shows the capacity to provide solar energy. I fought it at the state, and I'll continue to fight to have our own energy sources for our benefit and reduce our fees.
Johnathan, if elected to the county commission, tell us how you would approach any renegotiation with FPL regarding the franchise contract to operate in Miami-Dade County.
Currently, I'm in favor of lower energy costs, and I'm really in support of lower cost solar energy solutions. And that's something, if I'm elected to the county commission, that I'm going to push for.
Are there specific requirements that you would push for in any negotiation with FPL regarding renewable energy or underground power lines or anything along those lines?
Well, underground power lines is definitely something that I would push for, because that's the first thing that goes down in the case of a storm. I know that it costs money, but if we add the solar panels and we get more affordable solar panels, and then we could have money saved again that can be used for the underlying power lines.
Alfredo, same question to you. What would be essential in any renegotiation in the county and FPL?
I am very concerned with FPL. When I'm a city commissioner, I will definitely would like to ask for the monopoly of FPL to be broken. This hasn't been fixed since 1989, and I believe in competition. I would like to see more companies competing in Florida. I would like to see people like ourselves. Florida, we're called the Sunshine State because we have more great sun radiation, more than most states in this great nation. I would like to see every single one of our homes with solar panels. The reason it hasn't happened is because FPL has not allowed this regular comparative flow to happen. Okay, so I will definitely ask for more companies to compete and create those incentives so every single one of us could have solar panels in their houses. I would like to definitely see the cables going underground, especially in Miami, because when it rains, people lose energy, and we are a state that it's got hurricanes that come every month. So we definitely have to ask FPL to take care of this, and definitely LED lights. Thank you.
Thank you very much to our three candidates for two separate races for County Commission. We have to move on to our next set of races, but please, a round of applause for